My response to that was a casual offer of 25 cents a tape, fully expecting that woman to hit me over the head with the broomstick. What's up, nerds? Welcome back to Real Reserve, where we talk about all things related to movies and physical media. In today's video, I'm going to be showing off an awesome VHS haul that I found at a local estate sale, so grab yourself a coffee and let's get into it. So 2 weekends ago, I found an estate sale that was advertising movies about 5 minutes away from my house. Early Saturday morning, I decided to stop by and check out what they had, and lo and behold, there were 2 large boxes full of VHS tapes. Of course, I dug into those 2 boxes of movies like there was somebody actively trying to take them away from me, and I slowly started building a pile of the movies that I was interested in. I ended up putting together a stack of 21 tapes, but there was no price labeled on any of the movies or the boxes that they were in. I went over and found the woman that was running the estate sale, and she told me that they wanted $2 per tape. No chance. My response to that was a casual offer for 25 cents a tape, fully expecting that woman to hit me over the head with the broomstick. She actually countered at 50 cents a tape, so I ended up walking away with 21 tapes for 10 bucks. First up, from 1953, we've got It Came from Outer Space. This one stars Richard Carlson and Barbara Rush. This looks like an old school scary movie. I've never seen this one before, and years ago I would have never picked this movie up because it's in black and white. Black and white movies are kind of an acquired taste for me. Over the last couple of years, I've really grown out of my distaste for them. I've watched through several of the Universal monster movies from back in the day, and they've honestly kind of grown on me. With that said, I'm excited to check this one out for the first time. Next up, we've got the action classic, Con Air, starring Nick Cage, John Malkovich, and John Cusack. I haven't seen this one in several years. I remember it always being on TV whenever I was a kid, or so it seemed. This is a Nicolas Cage classic in my opinion because he's got the long hair and the beard going on. From what I can remember, I really enjoyed this one. This is the first copy of Con Air that I have in the collection, so I don't have it on DVD or Blu-ray. Bonus points for VHS. Next up, we've got Black Widow, starring Deborah Winger and Teresa Russell. I have no idea if this movie is going to be any good, and I honestly haven't heard of either one of these actresses before. After reading the synopsis on the back, it seems to be a dark psychological thriller following somewhat of a succubus storyline. Like I said, I don't have very high hopes for this one. What caught my attention was the cover art and the fact that the tape is mint. Check that out. So I'm going to give this one a watch. I'll report back in a later video on whether or not it sucked. Next up, we've got The Art of War, starring Wesley Snipes. Another one that I haven't heard of before. Also, I haven't seen very many of Wesley Snipes' movies outside of the Blade series, so that's what made me decide to pick this one up. Based off of the cover art and the synopsis on the back, this one looks like an old school ass whooping movie, which is right up my alley, so I'm excited to have it in the collection and check it out. If you've seen this one before, let me know how you liked it down in the comments below. And next up, we've got an absolute mint copy of Back to the Future. Take a look at how clean that artwork is. Check that out. I've already got this one on Blu-ray, but for 50 cents on a VHS copy this clean, it's coming with me. Back to the Future is another one that I grew up watching over and over again on cable TV, and I can remember it absolutely blowing my mind the first time I ever saw it. Another classic movie from Steven Spielberg with great performances throughout. I'm sure this one will probably get just as much watch time as the Blu-ray. In another pickups video, I showed off 2 VHS copies of Arthur, and guess what? I found another one, Arthur's Baby. I've already watched the other 2 Arthur tapes that I picked up, and man, that was like stepping back into a time machine. All the years of coming home from school, turning on PBS in order to watch Arthur came rushing back to me. I think this one's a great find because of that nostalgia factor, and let me tell you, I'm gonna pick up every copy of Arthur that I see. Moving on from the mind of Stephen King and starring little Drew Barrymore, we've got Firestarter. This one isn't in quite as good of shape as some of the other tapes in this collection. We've got some dog earring here on the corners and some creases, but honestly, for 50 cents, who cares? This is the first copy of Firestarter that I have in my collection, and I have not seen this movie in at least 5 years. I'm a big fan of Stephen King because he's managed to consistently put out great stories for multiple decades at this point, Firestarter included. Like I mentioned in previous videos, there are several movies that I would prefer to have on VHS format, with Firestarter being one of them. I'm excited to have this one in the collection on VHS, and I'm gonna be watching this one real soon. The next tape is kind of an oddball because over the last few months, I've been wanting to get into tapes of movies that were recorded off of TV to get those cool, retro, nostalgic commercials. This isn't a movie that I would choose to watch all the time. Nonetheless, I've got 101 Dalmatians recorded from TV. I haven't seen this movie since I was a kid, but I'm really excited to check it out and see those awesome commercials. I'm gonna start being more attentive to these recorded tapes because you honestly never know what you're gonna find recorded on them sitting in some Goodwill. Next up, we've got another old school ass whooping movie. This is Fist of Legend starring Jet Li. The most recent movie that I've watched starring Jet Li is War with Jason Statham, and I've been meaning to go back and check out some of his older work. I'm not overly familiar with old kung fu movies, and knowing my luck, this is gonna be a terrible one to start out on, but nonetheless, I'm excited to check it out. Next up, we've got Point Break starring Keanu Reeves and Patrick Swayze. Another action movie that I haven't seen before. I've seen a lot of clips of this popping up on TikTok lately, and it looks pretty good. I think the show Trailer Park Boys has screwed up my perspective of Patrick Swayze, but I'm not gonna let that get in the way of me giving this one a watch. Next up, we've got Thelma and Louise from Ridley Scott. I've seen several people say that this is one of their favorite movies of all time, and I know they did the cool Criterion release of this, but sadly, I have never seen this movie. I also don't really know what this movie's about, so that falls in line with my pattern of going into movies completely blind. I'm glad I was able to find this one on the cheap on VHS because I don't really like blind buying Criterion releases at 50 bucks a pop. I'm excited to check this one out and see what it's all about. Moving on, we've got The Fast and the Furious. Don't get at me too bad in the comments for saying this, but I think this is the best one in the series and the only one that I'll really watch. Technically, I think I've got a few of the other movies in the series on Blu-ray, but I've never watched them and they'll probably end up going on to Whatnot at some point. With that said, I really enjoy the original Fast and Furious. I've seen it several times and it's actually one of my favorite race movies. I've never seen this one on VHS, so I'm excited to give it a watch on a CRT and see what it looks like. Next up, we've got an absolute crispy copy of Uncle Buck starring John Candy. I know we all have comfort movies that whenever we watch them, they just feel like home, and for me, Uncle Buck is one of those movies. This is the first movie that I ever saw starring John Candy, and I love the charm of this one. Take a look at how clean the cover is on this one. Here's the back. Here's the tape. Absolutely mint. Again, I already have this one on Blu-ray, but I'm sure this copy is going to get just as much watch time. Next up, we've got one of the great classic comedies from Jim Carrey, Liar Liar. I already had this one on VHS, but when I saw this one, this copy is in much cleaner condition than the one that I currently have. Again, look at how clean the cover is. Here's the back. Here's the tape. Overall, a very clean copy. A movie that I've seen over and over and over again, and one that I will continue to watch in the future. Moving on, we've got a sealed copy of Perfect starring John Travolta and Jamie Lee Curtis. Honestly, the reason why I picked this up is because it was sealed and it stars John Travolta. I don't have high hopes for this one. If this is a good movie and I'm completely off base here, let me know that down in the comments below. Next up, we've got one of my favorite Robin Williams movies, Mrs. Doubtfire. I didn't have this one on VHS, and it's another one of those movies that I've watched over and over and over again as a kid. At this point, everyone should have seen Mrs. Doubtfire and know about the legendary performance from Robin Williams. There are so many scenes in this movie that are absolutely hilarious and that still hold up to this day. You've got the teeth coming out into the drink. You've got him putting his head into the pie in order to conceal his face. You've got the mask falling out of the window and getting ran over by the truck. Just an absolute comedy classic. Again, I'm excited to have this one in the collection and check it out on a CRT. Depending on your age, you might not have as much of a connection with this next movie, and that is Finding Nemo. I found this movie out in the wild probably 50 times. It seems like every Goodwill in my area has a copy of it. I never picked it up because I always assumed that I had it. Well, guess what? I didn't. I went to watch this one on VHS about 2 months ago and realized I don't own it. I can't say this for sure, but this is probably the first movie that I ever saw in theaters. I would have been 6 or 7 years old at the time, and I can vaguely remember going on a school field trip to see this in theaters. I watched this one again a couple of weeks ago, and putting nostalgia to the side, this is still a really good movie and might be one of the best animated films of all time. Next up, we've got Doc Hollywood starring Michael J. Fox. Similar to the other ones that I've shown, this is pretty much immaculate. Here's the back. I picked this one up because of its condition and also the fact that Back to the Future is really the only Michael J. Fox movie that I've ever seen. This could be a classic that I'm just not aware of, but coming off of Back to the Future, I've got pretty high hopes for this one. Hopefully, I'm not disappointed, but I'm gonna check it out. Moving on, we've got Turner and Hooch starring Tom Hanks. I actually don't think I've seen this one before, maybe once or twice whenever I was a kid, but I can't remember it at this point. I mainly picked this one up because I have a cane corso that has similar features to the dog in this movie, and I'm excited to see his reaction whenever I put this one on. Next up, we've got Hush starring Jessica Lange. I haven't seen this one before, but you can never go wrong with a thriller. My girlfriend's telling me you can never go wrong with Jessica Lange either, so let's take her word for it. For back-to-back thrillers, we've got The Good Son with Macaulay Culkin. Surprisingly, Home Alone is the only movie that I've ever seen Macaulay Culkin in. The back says that this one is a haunting thriller, so there's that. I'm excited to check this one out. And something about the way he's smiling on the front of this is pretty creepy. Second to last, we've got a VHS twin pack of 2 Steven Seagal movies. This is Hard to Kill and Above the Law. I'm honestly not a fan of Steven Seagal one bit. I know these are going to be cheesy action movies, but I like those and there's a time and a place for them. I think the twin pack is pretty cool because both of these have their own sleeves inside. I'm not sure when I'm going to get around to watching these, but I will eventually. Saving the best for last, the only full-blown horror movie in those 2 boxes full of VHS tapes, we've got Lake Placid. I've got some seemingly bad luck with this movie because every time I found it on VHS at Goodwill or at an antique mall, it is smothered with mold. Ironically, this is one of the first movies that I pulled out of that first box of VHS tapes that I dug through, so obviously that gave me a ton of false hope that I was going to find a lot more horror movies. Regardless of that, I think this is a great addition to my VHS collection. Plus, the shrink wrap is still intact, so it's in great shape. At some point in the future, I'm going to do a video showing off my entire horror VHS collection. If that's something that you'd be interested in watching, let me know that down in the comments below. Before I close this one out, and at the time of filming this video, we're sitting right on the edge of 80 subscribers. In my opinion, the growth that we've seen on the channel in the last 2 months is absolutely incredible. With that, let's keep pushing to 100 subscribers and continue to grow the small community that we're starting to develop here. If you made it to this point in the video, thanks so much for watching. If you think this video sucked, feel free to let me know that down in the comments below. Or if you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you on the next one.